Okay. Hello, hello. Hello. So I think I'm audible right now. One second, okay. I have lots of technical difficulties right now. So I think I'm audible right now. One second, okay. I have lots of technical difficulties right now. So I think I'm audible.
Cancel, cancel, cancel.
അതെങ്ങനെ?
Cancel, cancel.
അതെ.
ഇതിന്റെ 10 ഓണാക്കി വെച്ചേക്കണം. അതല്ലടി ആ വീഡിയോ. ഇത് മറ്റേ അത് മൗസ മൗസ മൗസ് പാഡ്. ശരി, cancel, cancel. അതല്ലടി ആ വീഡിയോ. ശരി. അത് അവിടുന്ന് ഇവിടുന്ന് ഭയങ്കര നന്നാണ്. ഒരു ശരി കിടക്കണം ശരിയാണ്.
Hello. So I hope that everything is fine right now. I'm so sorry. I had lots of technical difficulties. I'm starting to work this live stream since 8:30, but it took me half an hour to get it right. Uh, but I hope that there's no issues as of for now. And if there is, please let me know that in the comment section. And I really hope that everything is fine right now. So okay. So anyhow, I think we should just start with our classes, and I have few announcement also today, and that is that we all know that we got our okay, we didn't get the hall tickets, but at least we have an idea or certain clarity is there for the exam because we got a circular from the UGC net saying that exams will be conducted on 24th. That is for mass communication journalism, the exams will be on 24th, and for all the other subjects will be depending upon the dates. Sure enough, we haven't got the hall tickets as of yet, and yes, we do have some our own issues regarding the centers of the examinations, and and I just want to say that just be prepared because there's no compulsion that you will get it in your preference of your area itself because the corona pandemic and all the issues are going on. The chances for you to get your correct center or your preferred center will be very less, and and I really hope that you all will be ready with all the other facilities, that is your transportations, everything has to be taken into considerations, and mostly your examination, that is our mass communication journalism, will be on like after 3 o'clock. I think it's during the afternoon session, the examinations, and yes, and that is what that we have till now, and that is the updated informations. And yes, regarding the crash course, I have a suggestion, and this is sort of like a plan. My intention is that is, since we are having a crash course for this mass communication journalism, I thought, we'll also have a crash course for the same thing also, that is your paper one. And your paper one crash course will be like during the morning sessions. Paper one crash course will be at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, and your mass communication lessons will be at 8:30 p.m. in the evening. So morning and evenings you will be having two sessions. And yes, so those who haven't prepared well for your paper one, I suggest you all to watch these videos, that the classes will be starting tomorrow onwards. And yes, I think I will start with the max, that is your mathematical ability and logical ability type questions. And And so, yeah, so who wants to watch it, they can join a class. The class will be at 8:30 a.m. And yes, and I think we should just start with our today's class, that is ICT and media. One of the reasons why ICT is included in our syllabus is because, I'm sorry. One of the reasons why ICT is included in our syllabus is because, mass communication media is all about the information technology, the technology that being used in this new media. For that reasons, we have to study ICT, and certain concepts has to be learned by us, because sure enough, all these students or these aspiring aspirants who are preparing or appearing for the UGC net, they're going to be professors or lecturers or assistant professors. There is also slim chance that they will get into the industries. So all these technical concepts and clarity has to be defined. For those reasons, ITZ is included in our syllabus. So here we're going to study the ICT, the concepts, the basic understandings of it. So first of all, communication technology or technology is actually, a sort of like a different platform or a different media in which all the other forms of media will be inculcated in it in a way that everything will be so much easier. For example, the video that you're watching. We all have the situation that we are in a situation of pandemic, but yet still our classes are going uninterrupted. That is, all our programs, all our curriculums, even the work at home, all these bases have been, it is possible because of the communication media and the technology. So that is that we have to understand. And we have to understand. So everything and anything with relation to the technology comes under the communication technology. Even a simple cell phone device comes under the communication technology. And the definition of ICT is information communication technology. So even the word implies communication. So that is the reason why this has so much of close linkage with mass communication media and journalism. And here ICT implies that technology which consists of electronic devices and associated human interactive materials. That is, we are watching this live stream video, and there is sort of a certain amount of human interaction, that is me as a sender of these information interacting with a technical or an electronic device through a medium, and then giving out the informations, and you will decode or receive the information through the same ICT or this technological based devices. So that is the reason why we say this is ICT and communication media. And just take a screenshots of it, okay, because there are chances that all these technical jargons and these abbreviations will be asked for your examinations. And this is not a suggestions, because I hope everyone will know this, that is, as a previous day of your examination, at least on your previous day of your examinations, you have to go through all your previous year question papers. You need to have a general understanding how the questions are going to be asked at. And it's not a subjective based questions, these are objective based questions. Sure, it's very good that you will have conceptual knowledge on it, but you need to have all these factual understanding. That is, you have to, by heart, or keep in mind certain factual lines and all. Only then you will be able to answer all these questions. So okay, fine. And communication technology, it evolved by leaps and bounds in last century. I don't think it's just last century alone. Even if you just take it just a day, we could find that within a day you could find n number of all these minute minuscule amount of technology being developed day by day. And yes, telephone, mobile phones, internet, world wide web, all these weren't possible at least 40 or 50 years before. And they were, they had impacted and they even shaped our lifestyle. They shaped in such an extent that these are not anymore a luxury for us. These are necessities for human interactions and human livelihood. And when you look into the effects of communication technology, that you can never restrict communication only through the visual or the mass communication medium. Everything and everywhere, this communication technology has to be used. And that is the reason why even in your paper one, this component is being included in your syllabus. That is, ICT is actually a part of your paper one syllabus. And one thing that is different from paper 2, that is for paper 1, sure, you have 10 units, and each 5 questions will be asked from these 5 units, these 10 units. That is, for our paper 2, there's no much of compulsion that 5 questions will be asked from everywhere, from each part. But for the paper 1, there is equal allocations of mark. For that reasons, you have to study ICT, and we cannot miss out these 5 questions. So yes, as I was saying, that the effects of communication is throughout all the mediums and all the spectrums and everything and anything that you can think about. All these ARs and these government broadcasting systems were started in India first for the education purposes and then for the entertainment purposes and now for the commercial sectors. That is, all these commercial people, these industries have to have an efficient communication between these two elements. Only then they could, able to do all these work, or they could get about in their work. And yes, and I don't have to emphasize how important that is for each sector. That is, from every perspective, communication is very much vital, and a miscommunication means that a huge loss to their systems. And if you have any doubts, just stop me then and there, okay? I will I could read your comments. Fine. So, education and research. Due to CT, that is communication technology, education has become more inclusive. That is, like if you could just look into like 10 years back, what was the situations? There were certain area, there were certain people, there were certain sectors in which education as a proponent was a luxury to some people. The reason was topographical reasons will be there, and other sorts of developmental issues were there. For those reasons, education was, just concentrated to some masses, to some people. It wasn't distributed evenly to everyone. And yes, due to these pandemic situations, I think I have talked about the situations in my previous videos also. There is a huge technical or digital divide among the masses. That is, I'm not talking about just a single state, I'm talking about India as a whole. There are certain students who are not able to afford all these technical gadgets and devices, mobile phones. And even if some students could afford mobile phones, they wouldn't be in a position to have super internet connection wherein there wouldn't be any buffering, or have internet connections throughout the days or every other day. And this is an issue because there are lots of school dropouts happening, and students are discontinuing their education because of pandemic and because of the livelihood issues also, because their parents are being jobless and they're being thrown out from the job. For those reasons, children are also contributing for all these livelihood activities, and since they are not able to afford it, they go after how to earn wages. So yes, so I think we are being pushed back to 10, 20 years, and we have to work on for the next 5 or 6 years, like 3 or 4 times extra, so that we could reach back to that original positions. And yes, So here it's not concentrated to the pandemic situations. Okay, this situation or the modules or the classes that I'm taking is like, just imagine that I'm taking it 7 or 8 to 9 months before. That is the present scenario. Okay, so from those perspective, education has reached to all the other sectors, to all the like isolated villages, to all these places. Students are being included into the education spectrum, and research scholars can share the work, not just the research scholars. The literacy rate was increasing drastically because of communication technology. And the next one is the future perspective is that government is planning broadband connectivity to villages to provide internet to all, and not just for the education purposes. Okay, I think you must have heard all these people saying that when all these government aided, funded, all these broadcasting mediums came into our India, that is all the AR and all, the initial concentration or interest was first on education, then entertainment, and also to agriculture sectors, giving all these news and facts and everything, and all the other informations regarding the agriculture and those sectors. So it's also helping these people in those perspectives also. And for the education and research, that is in some place, I think in Tamil Nadu, the government is providing certain gadgets and certain privileged students. Privileged in the sense that certain students who are being selected, probably like like scholarship methods. There'll be a certain criterion that has to be met, and some students they'll get all these facilities, technical facilities, and all these inclusive margins are being included over there. And for the medical field, the CT, that is, this is an abbreviation, okay, communication technology has changed the way in which medicine is practiced and taught. That is, web-based diagnostics and telemedicines are some of the major recent breakthroughs that I think you might have seen in Facebook. That is, you could even have the interactive based consultations and interactive through all these diagnosis facilities. That is, doctors will be there in the other hand or in the other end of this technological podium, and then you could interact with these experts or doctors, and then you could come into a diagnosis. I'm talking situation before the pandemic, okay, and that is your situation, or that is a idea that you should have for the examination. Do not think that this pandemic is the present situation, because we are going to write the exam. So your situation or your background as an aspirant or as a UGC net student should have to be, the situation that we had 7 or 8 months before. And your communication technology helps in maintaining the patient's record, reporting cases of outbreaks like Ebola, H1N1, etc. And research work is also being accelerated using communication technology in the medical field. That is, the transparency of these data collections. Everything has been so well organized that, even the medical stuff, all these clerical works, administrative works, they cannot work without this net-based networking, in which everything is being recorded over there. For example, you went to a hospital, probably like 10, 20 years back, and then you come up and say that, I was a patient of this such and such a doctor, and probably I do not remember my number, I do not remember my register number being registered here as a patient, but I do remember that my doctor that I consulted was this. So within that information, they could type in the interfaces and could get all the informations about you. All your medical histories will be recorded in the computer. So it's so much helpful for everyone. And for the futuristic, that is, scientists are researching to create implants which can connect to the communication network and provide monitoring facilities to doctors who are even miles away from their patients. Like this, for example, there is a procedure, I'm not sure of it, that is, a stent will be placed inside you after the surgical operation. Stent, I think it is for cardiac related problems. And you cannot just keep on diagnosing, you cannot open up and see how it is going on. So probably a certain interfaces will be within it, sort of like a GPS. GPS is an example, okay? Will be in there to have an understanding, to have a monitoring facility. You cannot just keep wiring a patient to all these MRIs and all these things to have a clear understanding. That is, like for example, for diabetic, that is juvenile diabetic people. Juvenile diabetic is that, suppose a small baby was born diabetic. Probably the child's father or mother was diabetic while conceiving. So because of that, the child will also be juvenile diabetic. And these children will have their own monitoring facility in which these children could understand, because they are very much prone or high risk of these fatalities and problems because of diabetes. So in those cases, these children will be able to monitor. So that facility is there for these diabetic children. So in those cases also, for all other, this technology could be applicable to all the other spectrums of these scientific problems also. And yes, there is also a chance for robotic surgeries. We'll never know. That is, there's a lots of artificial intelligence are being modified and created. Probably in the near future, we'll have lots of robotic surgeries, and expert-based knowledge systems will help in better understanding and treatment of diseases. That is, even for the diagnosis facilities, we'll have not just a manual doctor. We'll have a specific set of robots where they will just understand everything and anything about a patient. And then about the agriculture, they give out all these informations. Probably these agriculture informations will be mostly given by the government sectors and government podiums, and experts can communicate to farmers and farmers can connect to these scientists. That is, there are researchers, there are these scholars related to these agricultural spectrums, and they could give out all these vital informations. That is, this was news to me. Okay, this is just an example. This was news to me that not everything could be grown in a garden, or not everything could be grown in a backyard, because even a soil requires certain amount of proteins and calciums, and we have to check our salinity of our soil. So this was news to me, and I, as a common person, I as a layman, didn't have any knowledge about it. So there are even chances that even these farmers, well efficient, these farmers who have been working in their fields for all these years, they would also have certain limitations regarding their knowledge or expertise in these agricultural sectors. So for those reasons, it will be very much beneficial for them if they could have a connection between these experts and these technological experts, or these agriculture experts, or these researchers based on agriculture, to give out all these vital informations. And the future scope is that the government agency is developing mobile apps to provide all necessary information to farmers. Yes, we also have that there are lots of apps and all for all the things that you could, I think I should just say that hundreds of apps are being born daily. And I think, I don't think there is any app that we cannot think about, because there are so much of apps there in the Play Store that there has to be different apps, not by the government sectors, but also by these private individuals and industries. And for the manufacturing field, that is, products can be promoted on social media websites, through radios, TV. These were taken or discussed in a advertisement chapter. And plants can be monitored remotely to improve quality, everything and related to it. That is, all the information. I'm not just talking about manufacturer to consumer. I'm talking about manufacturer to manufacturer. That is, the example that I gave the other day. That is, this pen's nib will be made by a different manufacturer, and this whole pen will be made by or manufactured by a different manufacturer. So this pen manufacturer will need this pen grip from a different manufacturer. So there has to be a proper channelize of channels between the manufacturers and manufacturers to the consumers and to the potential buyers. And the future scope of this is that new emerging sensor technologies like Internet of Things make monitoring even more efficient. Yes, and I don't think this has to be said, because this chapter is so much simple, and I think we as the new media, or we as these people who are more so much engrossed in this new media, has well versed, has so much of knowledge in this chapter, in this module, and I think this will be so much easier, this chapter. But even then, if you have any doubts, to ask me in the comment section. Okay, fine. So, in the commerce sector, communication technologies like mobiles, internet, TV, radios, etc., provides better ways of advertising products. Customers can even provide feedback, which producers can use to enhance quality and thus boost sales. That is, for example, your PR, that is your public relations officer, they could collect informations on the behalf of consumers or the customers in a way that they could, do lots of enhancement or modifications on the products and services, and then give out. And you must have seen that when you go to these app stores, there will be, like, if you just scroll down to, if you just select a single app, and if you just scroll down, you will see lots of comments by these people, mostly will be complaints. And all these complaints, there will be replies to it by the the company of these apps, saying that okay, thank you for giving the information, thank you so much for your vital feedback, and everything will be met, all the replies will be met by these people who created the app. And the reason is that uh, before, like I think before like 10 or 20 years before, the products was just like producer intention, but now it is mostly for what the consumer requires, what the consumer wants, and we are ready to make all these changes which will benefit the consumers in a way that it will also benefit us back. So this is the general understanding these we have to find out. And for the future scope is that as more number of people will be connected to internet, area of influence for e-commerce will also increase, resulting in more number of consumers for sellers and better options for buyers. That is this online buying or online shopping as an aspect. This was so much, people used to be so skeptical about this. People had lots of issues regarding this. When Flipkart was first launched in India, sure enough, it gained lots of popularity, but still people weren't so much of aware with it. People still had all their doubts, and they still kept on or held on to their own doubts and scrutiny and all. But now it's so much part of our life that we cannot think about these e-commerce or buying products through the online media, buying services. Services, this is a service, that is I'm giving out a product. Product is my information. So it couldn't only be products. Everything is so much of connection. That is, even YouTube wasn't, used or watched by us. Like, I think if you just take just 3 or 4 years back, and I don't think YouTube as a platform, as a online platform, it wasn't this much popular. But it's so readily gaining like popularity, and I don't think that we cannot think or we cannot live without all these social or interconnected networks and all. And the word digital, now it's about digital media. Okay, the word digital comes from the Latin word digit and digitus, that is finger and fingers. And this is an example of advertisement. Okay, and what is digital communication? Is any message passed through digital devices. Digital communication is any type of information sent digitally. That is, for example, the class that you're watching right now. This is being sent through a digital medium and it is being decoded by you in a digital device. So this is a digital message and this is a digital communications that we are having. And some students, they give me replies, they give me feedbacks in a way that they try to connect the communication. They try to complete in a loop and it even goes around in a loop. And the advantage is that it's very much faster, it's very much easier, and no paper is wasted, and the messages can be stored in the device. That this video, sure enough, it's a live one, but still, anyone could just go back and watch the same video, rewatch it. If you have a doubt, you could go back and rewatch it without it being damaged. But for example, you go to a lecture, you go to a live lecture that's happening in somewhere nearby you. If you just watch it and you missed out certain points, you cannot just go back, you cannot rewind it because it's not recorded. That's a problem. And digital communications can be done over large distances through internet and other things. That is, you could watch a video that is happening there in North America, and you could watch it something happening in Australia, Sweden, anywhere. You need to think of any places you could just watch it, and it connects the gap. It brings the world even more closer. And the other advantages is that it's very much cheaper. It removes all the semantic barriers. That is, uh, I'm not just talking about just physical. All these types of barriers could be eliminated to a large extent, and it provides facilities like video conferencing, which saves a lot of time, money, and effort. Yes, sure enough, you must have experienced at least one video conference in your entire life. All times, all credits goes to the Corona pandemic, and all your classes will be via this video conferencing, Teams or Skype or any other connecting platforms. And the other disadvantage is that it's very much unreliable. That is, during the onset of pandemic, there were lots of WhatsApp forwards, and we, as all these people, weren't sure of all these information. There was like lots of information. We were forced upon with all these informations, and there was so much of clarity with the authenticity of these informations, and we couldn't rely on it. And there was certain social stringent because of that. And The establishments of the digital communication causes degradation of environment in some cases. That is, electronic waste is an example. That is, for example, you must have seen in the movie My Name is Khan, and also in the movie that is Robot 2, Robot Chitti Chitti Robot 2, the Rajnikant movie. I'm sorry if I don't say the name correctly. Okay, I'm sorry for that. That is sure enough, this is just a small device, but the all the radiations and all these things given out by this is so much harmful for all these, these bugs or these birds, even for humans. Even there's an amount of radiations that we could, you know consume, and this creates lots of, problems and ailments in the future, like even cancer. Deadly cancer is one among them, and it not just kills the environment, not just kills all these small birds or these small insects, it's so much of deadlier and, fatal to us humans also. And one more passing reference is that do not use phone or do not keep your phone nearby your pillowcases or nearby your bedstand. It's so much harmful while you sleep. And what is social networking? The social networking is a service, is an online service or website that focuses on building and reflecting of social relations among people. That is, all the social networking spectrums, that is Facebook, Viber, and Twitter. And I cannot think of anything because there are lots of social networking sites, and there were sites which was even, thrown out from the system. I think one of the few important example will be Orkut. Orkut, it was during 2008 to 2010, I think, if I remember that correctly. This was widely used by everyone, but all of a sudden, people suddenly stopped using it, and then started shifting their focus to Facebook. So, social networking sites are all these websites which connects all these people in a social setup. That is a virtual platform, and these people are connected through the same internet or networks. And most social network services are web based and provide means for users to interact over the internet, such as email, instant messaging, and use of dedicated websites to communicate informally with the other members of site by posting messages, photographs, etc. And how it all started was, the first one started in 1990s, but in India, the Orkut was the first social networking website. And there were also other less prominent ones like Yahoo Messenger was very much prominent, very much in use during those period. But even now, I don't even remember when this Yahoo Messenger was out of fashion, because probably I stopped using it in 2010 or 11. And I don't even think there is still a Yahoo Messenger. I don't know. Okay, and it has lost the relevance, the lost importance. And Orkut was followed by MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and now Google Plus. And different social networking sites was that Orkut, Yahoo Messenger, Skype, and this allows or enable us to share videos, share messages, share photos. It allows us to share messages and even for the video calling. And the next important part of your syllabus is animations. If you are senior animations, I'm so sorry. If you're senior syllabus, that is the official site will have the syllabus given out. And animation is very much important or relevant in your syllabus, which is regarding your UGC net examinations. So these are different techniques under animation, and the first one is squash and stretch. This action gives illusions of weight and volume to the character as it moves. For example, a bouncing ball expands on impact and feet appear longer and flatter when hitting the pavement. That if you had seen all these exaggerated cartoons, for example, Tom and Jerry, the old ones, the old versions or the old ones that is before the 90s and all, these cartoons are very much, over exaggerated in the forms of expressions. And squash and stretch is that, for example, when something gets bounced, it squashes and stretches. So it creates a larger impact on the audience's mind that is actually being squashed and stretched. And the feet appearing longer and flatter when hitting the pavement. That is, when you hit the pavement, for example, when you're walking, it seems as though your feet is very much longer when you hit the pavement. And anticipation is jumping characters would bend knees and swimming arm backwards. That is, these are just minor gestures and examples in a way that these gestures, in a way that give out or sort of like a non-verbal communication to the audiences. This movement prepares the audience for a major action that character is about to perform, such as starting to run, jump, or change expressions. And staging is a pose or action that clearly communicates to the audience the mood, reaction, or idea of the character as it relates to the story and continuity of the storyline. That is, seeing a character in a distance with a head in their hand sets the stage for a sad mood. Staging in the sense that, with just a picture, that is, with just a frame, they'll give out so much of information regarding that. If someone is smiling, if someone is smiling from year to year, probably that person is happy. They wouldn't have to give out the dialogues and all. So with just a single frame of scene, you could understand certain, elements from it. And that is what staging is. And straight head and pose to pose animation is strategy for developing your animation. Straight ahead animation start at the first drawing and work drawing towards at the end of a scene. Poster pose is planned out and charted drawing with key drawing done at intervals throughout the scene. The gaps are filled in. That is, these are just technical parts of these animations, and follow through and overlapping actions is that when the main body of the character stops, all the other parts continue to catch up to main mass. This is a prime example, typical example of Tom and Jerry. That is, I've seen that failure of law of gravity. For example, Tom is jumping off a cliff, and when it started realizing it, oh, suppose I'm suspended in the air, and then it falls down. So this is an example of that. Arms or long hair move after the character has stopped. Overlapping action is when the character changes direction while his clothes or hair continues forward. Bugs Bunny stop turns around, but his leg continued to the opposite direction. That is when it, even after moving, probably it's coming running and all, running around the place. And when it's move or when it's take an abrupt swift of change in action, even then the leg will be, you know, I think I should just show you that scene or just imagine the scene in your head, okay? Suppose it's going like this and then abruptly stops, and even then it will be like going like this, it's suspended in the air. And all these 90s kids, if you're watching it, it would have been helpful if you had seen all these 90s cartoons and all, because all these animations, all these techniques that I've explained over here are all these typical ones being used during these 90s and 80s cartoons. And slow out and slow in is an action start. We have more drawings near the starting pose or one or two in the middle, and more drawings near the next pose. Slow ins and slow out soften the actions, make it more lifelike. That is, fewer drawings make the action faster. Uh, that is, if you've seen a flick book animations, I think you must have seen it at least done once in your life. That if you have more frames and all, or that is something similar to this. And in those cases, if you have more poses or you know that is, if you have more drawings, it will seem as if it's going faster. If you have less drawings, it will look as if it's going slower. And fewer drawings makes actions faster. And old lady driving should make many frames for slow action. More drawing makes the action slower. That is when you're slipping through. Like for example, the first frame will be just a person. The next frame will be, probably in the same position. And with all these, probably after thousand slides, probably after thousand flip, you could find the person moving till here. So that is an example, and you must have done all these flipbook animations in school also, because I've done, and I think my friends also have done. And you could just Google about these flipbook animations and drawings and all. And arcs is that all action with few examples, such as the animations of a mechanical device, follow an arc or slightly circular path. Arcs give animations a more natural action and better flow. That is, like for example, if you have seen that when something or a ball is thrown, you could find a line being drawn, sort of like emphasizing its path of the ball being thrown. And this, in a way, it gives that sort of like a life-like experience. And secondary action is that this action adds to an ad enriches and the main action, adds more dimensions to the character animation, supplementing and or reinforcing the main action. That is, small yawn, small cheek movements, big yawn, exaggerated arm movements, and several facial movements. That is, uh, you know, they wouldn't just concentrate on one particular aspect, and they will have lots of other aspect which will add on to the element. Suppose I'm there is an animation that a person is crying. To add that, probably they'll rub their eyes. So in a way, it adds to the essence or the understanding of the mode of this animation. And timing is the pace of the action. The more drawing between the postures, the slower, the smoother the action. Fewer drawings make the action faster and crisper. Expertise and timing comes with experience and explanations used in trial and error method. And these are just basic understand common sense type kind of concepts. And there's no nothing, or I don't think there's any need for you to mug up. Just understand the concepts, and they will be mostly asked like in objective manner, wherein one single questions will be asked, and you have to select the correct options or the preferred options from it. And exaggerations are, they'll give out lots of exaggerated expressions. Bugs Bunny seeing a girl in his eyes comes out to his hand. Or probably, when the Bugs Bunny see a girl, the heart will go out, pumping throughout from the chest. So these are just exaggerated examples or exaggerated forms of animations. And solid drawing is that the basic, that is principles of drawing from weight, volume, solidity, and the illusions of three dimensions apply to animation as it does to academic drawing. The way you draw cartoons, you draw in the classical scene using pencil sketches and drawing for reproduction of life. Your drawing should be proportionate, head not too large, legs not too long. That is ideally, if you talk not just the cartoon animations that I'm talking about, the ideal when you draw, there is a basic understanding, basic mathematical structures, mathematical concepts that has to be taken into mind. And most of the time, they use eight head concept. That is one head equal to this much of part. So if you just stack your body as a whole, there will be eight heads, and everything is so much in proportion. That is, your palm should cover your entire face. See, and there are lots of mathematical elements also. I'm not sure of it, but everything has to be perfect symmetrical. There are lots of mathematical concepts. So solid drawing is about maintaining that mathematical concept, which is so much real life. And appeal is a live performer has charisma, an animated character has appeal. Appealing animation does not mean just being cute or cuddly. All characters have to have appeal, whether they are heroic, villainous, comic, or cute. That is, if you did seen this all these Hindi serials or Hindi soaps, that you can see that all these villains or all these bad women that being represented, they'll have lots of makeup, lots of ornaments and all. In a way, they create an appeal, okay? That create, non-verbal sort of communication about this person's character and everything with their clothing and all. So this is appeal. And these 12 were certain elements or certain concepts of animations. And for the ICT and media, only this much of concepts are there for your examination, that is for UGC net. And if there anything else that you want to ask me, you can ask me right now because I'm about to end the stream. And I really hope that I was able to convey myself to everyone. And yes, as a reminder, I think I should just point out that tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. we're gonna have the crash course series for paper one as well. Your paper one crash course will start tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. morning, and your crash course series for your paper 2 will be at 8:30 p.m. at night. The usual timing, the usual classes. So whoever wants to join your paper 1, that is your common core subject, you can come and watch. And for mass communication students, we hardly have, I think, just 4 days left for your examination. But I really hope that I will be able to cover the options within the time stipulated. But even then, I recommend you all to go through your previous year question papers, and that is a must. You have to understand, or you have to have a basic concepts or how the questions are being asked. And for that reason, you have to go through your previous year question papers. And if you would visit the official site, the UGC net site, you could find the link to all these mock tests and mock examinations. Since the examination is computerized, it is through a computer, certain things has to be kept in mind. I've seen people saying that they answer all the questions and they forgot to, give the answer, forgot to review mark the answer for review. And when they are timeout, the answers will go blank. For that reasons, I urge you to go take the mock test given by the UGC net official site. So that's it for today's class. And if you have any friends preparing for the UGC net examination, do share the videos and share the videos and comment, subscribe, like, and that's it for today's video. And I really hope that I was able to convey myself. So thank you so much.